everyone, welcome to another video. I'm going to be creating a very easy one-layer Christmas card with some Crackerbox and Suzy stamps. Here's a look at the stamps I'm going to be using today on my card. You can find everything that I'm going to be using listed and linked down below, so if you have any questions about ink colors, stamp names, that kind of thing, it's all down there in the description box for you to easily find. I wanted to give you a closer look at how that lamppost looks on an A2 size panel. It is super large and perfect to be the main focal point on a card. I love it so much. So I'm going to go ahead and be stamping on an A2 size panel, 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and this is plain white cardstock. I went ahead and got that lamppost positioned in my mini Misty, and I'm stamping down with Versamark ink. Now I am doing black heat embossing. And I want to mention that the majority of the time when I do black heat embossing, I like to use VersaFine Onyx black ink, and then I like to put clear embossing powder over it. However, I'm going to create a distress inked background on my card today, and any place where I have that clear embossing powder, like little stray flecks that stick, it's going to create a white spot in my background, and I didn't want that. So I'm actually going to be doing some black heat embossing with black embossing powder. Now, a few tips on using this. It is so super messy. However, use it over a coffee filter. That's going to save you a lot of hassle. Also, make sure you really utilize your embossing bag or your anti-static tool before you put this on. You want to make sure you really dust your surface well to get rid of those stray embossing powders. Put your embossing powder on over that coffee filter, give it a few flicks from behind over the coffee filter, and then use a paintbrush, a dry one, to remove any stray flecks that might be kind of sticking and just holding on there. Now, don't bang it at all at this point. Don't tap it with your brush or anything. Just use your hand to kind of wipe off those powders as you pull them away with the brush. That way you don't knock any more loose. Once I got it cleaned up, it was time to heat set this. Now, I like the look of one layer of embossing powder. I think it's gorgeous, and you could certainly stop there. It'll do the job. However, I went ahead and added a second layer on top of that to really kind of smooth it out and give it even more dimension, because I'm going to have a lot going on in this background. Now, once I had my stamping done for that, I needed to create some masks to make my background as well. I grabbed a circle die that's slightly larger than the top of the lamppost, and I'm going to cut that from Inkadinkado masking paper. I just cut a little square of this masking paper, and I'm going to want to keep both pieces, both the outside and the inside, because I'll use them both. Then I also needed to create a little hill border for my snowy border. So I grabbed a hill border die, and I'm going to cut that from some masking tape. I'll show you how I did that, or how I did the snowy border, in just a moment. But first I want to go ahead and create that kind of halo of light coming out of the lamppost. So I grabbed the outside of the circle die, peeled off that backing paper, and I'll just place it right over the top of the lamppost. It's going to hang off the top a little bit. That's okay. It just gives the card more character. I like when things hang off a little bit off the edges. I think it adds more interest. I grabbed some distress inks, and I'm going to start ink blending right inside that circle. I first grabbed fossilized amber is what this is, and I started blending in from the outside towards the center. It was looking a little bit dark to me, so I grabbed out some squeezed lemonade to really brighten up the center and kind of pull that color and brighten up the edges as well. That way it's not quite so dark. I really wanted to give the effect of a brighter light, not a darker light, if that makes sense. It made sense in my head. But once I got that completely covered, I let that dry for a few minutes, and then I stuck down my little mask right in place inside that circle. It's like a puzzle piece, but you want to give that distress ink a few minutes to dry. If you try and stick that masking paper down while the distress ink is still wet, it's not going to stick, and it's going to drive you nuts. So just save yourself the hassle. Give it that few minutes to dry. Now, to create my snowy border, I grabbed that masking tape that I cut, and I attached a piece of computer paper right underneath that. That's going to give me that very sticky edge that I need to make my snowy border, but I'm not using a whole sheet of masking paper for it. So I just used that little bit of masking tape, use the rest for computer paper. This way I'm not having to fuss with computer paper slipping around on me, and I'm not wasting a bunch of product either. It's the most economical way I found to create that border. Now for my background, I'm going to start off with two colors of distress ink. I am using Faded Jeans and Seedless Preserves. It's actually Dusty Concord is the purple. I double checked. However, Seedless Preserves could work as well. I went ahead and just started blending those two colors on, and I'm going to fill up the entire background with this. Blending those two together, kind of making it a little bit more spotty. So I've got a little bit of blue down at the bottom, then I've got some purple, then a little bit more blue towards the top. You don't want to make this one piece of color. You want to add in those little spots. You could also add in some pink and some yellow if you wanted to. Now I'm going to come in with some hickory smoke right on top of the center of that. That's going to blend everything together. Then along the edges, I'm going to start blending in some black soot. This is really going to deepen up that sky and give you a nice color. I'm basically making a night sky here. I won't be adding any stars or anything to this, but this is just one way to create a night sky. You can do so many different techniques. This is just the one I used for this card. So I'll go ahead and continue blending in that black soot right over the top to really deepen that up. I want to keep the center lighter, so I'm not going to blend any black soot over that. I want to give, again, that light emitting effect. I came back in with some hickory smoke, really blended in those colors in the center. Then I can start removing my masking over the little lamppost. Now the edges were a little harsh for me. I wanted to soften that up and bring the light out a little bit. So I grabbed my fossilized amber again and I started blending outwards towards the sky. Now it's not going to completely erase that harsh line. I really didn't want it to, but I wanted to add a little bit of black soot along in the inside and also bring that fossilized amber out towards the sky as well to give that kind of halo look. It's hard to see in the video, but in real life, I promise it's there. Now to brighten everything back up, I came in with one more layer of the Squeeze Lemonade, and then I removed that masking down at the bottom, and there's my scene ready to go. Now I gave this a very, 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 very good dry with my heat gun. That way I knew the background was nice and dry because I'm going to do some white heat embossing over this. I also gave it a very good dusting with my embossing bag. I set that down with some Versamark ink, and this clip got a little bit out of place, but I did add some Winkostella to those little light bulbs before I did my heat embossing. But I went ahead and added that white embossing powder right over the top, made sure again that that ink was very, very dry, and then I will clean up my edges just like I did with my black embossing powder with the paintbrush. I heat set that, and then I wanted to add a little bit something more Christmassy to this, so I grabbed this small little bow stamp from Crackerbox and Suzy Stamps, stamped that out, heat embossed it with the black again, and then I added Festive Berries Distress Ink over that to color it in. Fussy cut that out, used my black marker around the cut edges to really give it that finished look, and then I added a little bit of dimensional adhesive to the back of that, and I'll place that right on the lamppost for that added extra Christmassy flair. Now I also wanted to go ahead and add a little bit of glossy accents over the lamppost. I did that after I attached this to an A2 top folding card base. That way I like to do my wet things at the very, very end, so it's got time to sit and dry and I don't have to do anything else to the card. I also added a layer of Winkostella over the bow and also to the snow on the ground, and that finished off the card. This is a super easy one-layer Christmas card, goes through the mail very easily, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video. That is going to do it for me today. I want to thank you guys for watching. There are going to be links on the left side of your screen you can click on. You can also subscribe to my channel over there as well. You can find all my social media links down in the description box. As always, thank you for watching and happy crafting.